Hello from St. Joe and Chiefs training camp. Welcome to SportsBeat Live. This is a show where we talk Chiefs with you and the media members who know them the best. Before we introduce them, just want to encourage you to send us your questions and comments. We'll get to as many of them as we can, and want to give a big shout out to the Sheet Metal Workers Local Union Number 2 for their sponsorship. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate it. You will hear from them later in the show. Before we get started, I've got to say that this is the fourth show that we've done from Missouri Western, and all of them have started on time or as close to on time as any of these shows that we've ever done. That is unbelievable for us, for this group. And we have to thank for that Herbie Teope and Sam McDowell, our beat writers, who are here. What's up, guys?
We also have to thank Sam Mellinger, who's not here. That's probably what's helped us be on time 4 times now.
That's right. Absolutely. Yes. And thanks to our producer, Beth Welsh, who gets us going on this. Hey, so let's get into what we saw today at Chiefs camp. I thought it was a newsworthy day for the Chiefs. We'll tell you why in a second. But before we do, Herbie, why don't you take us down the injury list? And there was another player, as there was last week. We saw Travis Kelce walk up the hill because of an injury. There was another player who was walking up the hill today. Tell us about that.
Yeah, you actually had 3 players walk up the hill, but the big one, obviously, is number 22, safety Juan Thornhill. And if you remember when the rookies reported and the quarterbacks and select injured players last week before the veterans reported, Juan Thornhill was saying that, hey, I'm 100%. I'm now finally healthy, and now he suffers a groin injury. And groin injuries, like hamstrings, can tend to be a little tricky, so we'll see what he's able to do going forward. But the good news is he did walk up the hill. Wide receiver Chad Williams was the other one who walked up the hill with a groin injury as well, and tight end Evan Bayless suffered an ankle injury.
Okay. All right. So we'll Thornhill's the one, the most significant of those, and we may get to what that means for the Chiefs. A groin injury, it's kind of a nagging thing. He could miss some time because of that. But so today was interesting day, so interesting that the coach who spoke in the media tent after practice was offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. Before I talk to you guys about him, let's just go ahead and hear how he basically started out his press conference today. So let's hear from Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy.
Well, obviously, being a competitor, we all want it to be perfect. But we understand the ebb and flow of practice. Sometimes you have good days. Sometimes the guys on the other side have good days. The only thing that you want to see is guys making sure that they continue to play with the effort that we expect them to play with. And then when it's all said and done, we'll coach it up on tape and just clean it up. So today we didn't have a very good day, but I'll have an opportunity to really evaluate it once we go in there and take a look at it on tape.
The Chiefs offense did not have a very good day. I think that we all came to that conclusion as we were watching practice unfold. But let's go into maybe some specifics. Sam, what was Bieniemy talking about? And this wasn't the only time during his 10 minutes with the media that he talked about this. He mentioned this several times during his media availability.
Yeah, it was sort of an interesting time or interesting day to get Eric Bieniemy for the first time in training camp, because it was by far the worst performance his offense had. Nick Bolton and Willie Gay each picked off Patrick Mahomes in a span of 3 plays. And later in the day, Darius Harris, who was filling in for the injured Ben Neiman and Anthony Hitchens, middle linebacker, also picked off Patrick Mahomes. So all 3 linebackers had an interception today. And obviously uncharacteristic. Mahomes had only thrown 1 interception the entire first, help me out here, 4 days, Herbie. Yep. And that was Juan Thornhill on a tipped ball, really, that we all thought McCole Hardman had a chance to catch. And when you go back and look at the plays, and of course, we wish we could go back and actually look at all the plays. But it was unclear on some of them whether it was miscommunication or bad throws. And I thought that in particular on the Nick Bolton play, which would have been a pick 6 had they actually, nobody would have caught him. It was a short pass to the tight end. Absolutely miscommunication. Mahomes is looking to throw the ball, and Noah Gray sits down. And I think he's expecting him to curl out toward the sideline. That results in a pick six. Nick Bolton read that play. But the Willie Gay play was a little bit confusing to me because, I think all of us kind of looked at each other and said, who was he throwing that to? And Arrowhead Pride's Pete Sweeney said, hey, McCole Hardman was over there. I didn't see that it was a ball that would have tracked to McCole Hardman had Willie Gay not stepped in front of it. We played part of Eric Bieniemy. I actually asked Eric Bieniemy what happened on that play. And in classic Bieniemy fashion, he found a way to leave both possibilities open by just saying it was a poorly executed play. But it just did not seem like receivers and Patrick Mahomes were on the same page today.
What made it interesting to me, because the Bolton and Willie Gay interceptions came during 7-on-7 drills, which slants heavily to the offense. The offense should win 7-on-7s. But when you have those kinds of interceptions, and Sam is correct, a lot of that did look like miscommunication. The one that Bolton picked off was egregious. It looked like Gray did cut off his route, and Bolton just jumped it, and lo and behold, it's right there. Though he was able to pick that off. But when you have defenses shining in 7-on-7s, that's kind of concerning. You're like, the offense is supposed to win 7-on-7s.
I will call your attention to Twitter and other, maybe it's on Facebook as well, but Channel 41, Aaron Ladd, the cameraman and talent for Channel 41, had a couple of really good video clips of both of those interceptions. So if you want to see it for yourself, please access the social media, Channel 41 or his particular Twitter page. Very good angles, and you can see exactly what we're talking about because both of you guys absolutely right. I think Noah Gray just ran the wrong route or didn't complete the route, and again, I was like Sam, I'm a little confused on what Patrick Mahomes was seeing or didn't see on the pick that Willie Gay had. But one thing I did notice when Willie Gay came up with the interception, and he was pretty happy, and got big congratulations from Tyrann Mathieu. I think Willie Gay had himself a day today. He practiced really well. I know we talked about him last Friday when he spoke to the media, and just how how difficult it was for him to transition from into his rookie season because of the COVID restrictions. But are you guys seeing the same thing I am with Willie Gay? He's having himself a heck of a training camp.
Yeah, he didn't just have himself a day. He's had himself a week. I mean, an opening week here. Of course, the pads haven't come on. Herbie has reminded us like 30 times during these first 3 days, let's wait to see what the pads come on. But he's right. And so I'm interested to see how that applies to Willie Gay because he's been, for me, hands down the best player in this camp. He's been the guy that the Chiefs envisioned when they took him with a second-round pick last year. And Blair, you make an important point that it was so rare but also refreshing to hear him say that the reason he struggled last year was the playbook. Just didn't have a good enough grasp of it. Well, if he's got that grasp of it, I mean, it's so evident that the talent, when you look at the speed and particularly how good he is in coverage, which is exactly what the Chiefs need. So if he can be the player that we've seen without pads for the first week, if he can be that guy over the remainder of training camp and even into the season, I think he's the best linebacker on this team right now.
I'm not usually one to call attention to other people's Twitter accounts, but Tyrann Mathieu tweeted after practice today, Willie Gay, period. That's the tweet. That's it. That's it. So impressive.
Forget everything I just said and just Willie Gay.
Anyway, so good day and a good week so far for a good training camp for Willie Gay. How about Herbie? How about the offensive line today? I saw Lucas Niang out there with the ones. Saw him come off. Saw him get beat, and saw him come off to talk to coaches. After that, I thought it was an interesting day at right tackle for the Chiefs as well.
Yeah, with Mike Remmers still dealing with back spasms. So he didn't practice today. It's the second straight day he's missed it. But, Lucas Niang got the first work for full team drills at right tackle. He did get beat by Frank Clark. But I will say, on Saturday, his first time with the first team, he looks like he held his own. You know, he did pretty well against Chris Jones. He did pretty well against Frank Clark as they alternated back at right defensive end and left defensive end. Today wasn't the case. You know, it's along with the theme of Eric Bieniemy saying the offense didn't have a good day, and that applied across the board. When the Chiefs went to their second 11-on-11 drills, Andrew Wiley went out there in place of 9.
But the point of that was pretty interesting, though, because it was just a couple of plays, and it looked like he pulled Niang off specifically to deliver some sort of message to him. And by he, I mean the offensive line coach, Andy Heck. And then Niang took back over and resumed his spot, although the immediate play afterwards was him getting just dominated by Frank Clark off the edge. And, you know, that's been one of the camp battles that we've all talked about going into the season is what are they going to do at right tackle? Is it going to be Mike Remmers or is it going to be Lucas Niang? Like Herbie mentioned, Mike Remmers has been dealing with back spasms, so it's been Lucas Niang by default. But he didn't have a good day today, I didn't think.
Another guy who may have, we've already mentioned his name, Noah Gray, probably. I thought he's played well in camp, but not in addition to, you know, misreading the route or whatever led to the interception. I think he had a couple of drops as well. So listen, it's going to be the rookies here, right? They're going to have their day. And Bieniemy, we heard from him earlier. I liked what he said about, hey, with the mistakes, now you've got something to teach, right? You put it on tape, and they go into the classrooms and they break it all down, and they're very teachable moments when mistakes happen like this. So I think that's what we're looking at with the Chiefs. It's not I don't want to sound alarms on this Chiefs offense. I was having a conversation in the tent earlier with Adam Teicher about this. That remember when in 2018, before Mahomes became the starter, when he went to the training camp, then he threw a lot of picks here in St. Joe, and so Adam wrote about it on ESPN.com, and it blew up, just absolutely blew up. And Adam says he still hears about it to this day. That he threw some picks in training camp and went on to become the MVP of of the league that year with 50 touchdowns and more than 5,000 yards of passing. So nothing to be worried about. And I think it was good that we had Bieniemy today. Maybe if Steve Spagnuolo had been the speaker under the tent, we would have had. I don't know if he would have tried to sing the praises of the defense, but it allowed Bieniemy a chance to just remind people that this is what training camp's for, right? And this is especially for young players. This is where they get their mistakes worked out.
Yeah, and the part of that I would add to, though, is if it's an interception, if it's a few interceptions like today, I mean you're not going to remember those once the regular season starts. But that's one of the reasons I asked Eric Bieniemy the question I asked him, is because if this is some sort of miscommunication, like the one play with Nick Bolton, we expect a miscommunication with a rookie tight end to happen at some point during training camp, right? But if it's with Mecole Hardman, that's something that's been a pattern over the past couple of years, and that would concern me more than if it was, like I said, the miscommunication with a rookie and Noah Gray, because that would be part of a longer pattern that we've seen. And so I think this is such an important camp for Mecole Hardman because it's such an important year for Mecole Hardman, and that Eric Bieniemy mentioned that he came in great shape. Patrick Mahomes has said he's a more mature person than he was 2 years ago at this time. But that's why I'm so curious exactly what happened on that interception that we saw that Willie Gay led off training camp today with.
Let's stay on wide receivers here for a second. We've got some questions about the depth, and look, that's been a theme really since the offseason, since the Chiefs lost Sammy Watkins. And we're looking at after Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Byron Pringle, Demarcus Robinson, and fill out the depth chart from there. We spoke with a hopeful today, Darius Shepard from Blue Springs High, that that wants to be a candidate for that for the rotation. But are we, Herbie, or should Chiefs fans feel okay about where the wide receivers are right now?
I think they could, because there are a lot of bodies that can do a lot of different things within the scheme. It's all going to depend on what their specific role is. You mentioned Darius Shepard there. He's got a huge obstacle in front of him when you consider all the bodies. You just mentioned at least 5 receivers. Then you toss in Antonio Callaway. You toss in Marcus Kemp. You toss in Derek Jeter, guys who know the scheme. And a couple of those guys have value because of what they can do on special teams. You don't have that bona fide number 2 as of right now. It's not like, okay, it's Hill and Sammy Watkins. You don't have that coming into this camp. So, this is where the battles are going to have to start forming out here in the next couple of weeks. So we know for sure who is the number 2. I will say this. When they're out there in 11 personnel, i.e. the 3 wide receiver set, it is McCole Hardman, it is Demarcus Robinson and Tyreek Hill. And then every now and then you're going to see Antonio Callaway also rotate in there when they're in 11 personnel. So they're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I think ideally the Chiefs would like to know exactly, that orderly depth chart that they have at that position. But I still think, like, based on what Herbie said, they've been rotating those guys. And now receivers is a position you rotate more than the others, right? But I think the more and more that we see out here, it looks like the Chiefs are going to use a rotation of guys to fill in what Sammy Watkins used to do. I don't think it's going to just be McCole Hardman as suddenly the number 2 wide receiver. Like, I'm sure a lot of people would like to see him take that leap. But I still think we're going to see Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, McCole Hardman. We're going to see all 3 of those guys take the snaps that Sammy Watkins got over the past couple of seasons.
Very good. Okay, let's take a break here. Hear from the Sheet Metal Workers Local Union number 2 as Beth continues to clean up the bots that are attacking our questioned field here. Okay, here we go. Sheet Metal Workers Local Union number 2.
Every day you hear the sounds of unions and probably don't even know it. They're all around you. They are essential workers from many unionized industries going to work day in and day out to ensure Kansas City continues to grow and thrive. Union workers are building a better Kansas City. Since 1888, Sheet Metal Workers Local Union number 2 has been the community building both the heart and skyline of Kansas City. For more information, go to sheetmetal2.org.
Herbie, Michael asks if Powell's getting equal time at wide receiver. What's going on with him?
Nah, he's not. If he sees reps with the ones, it's not sustained. He's not out there for multiple plays. Most of his reps are coming with the 2s, even sometimes the 3s.
Okay. And Michael also asked if on the interceptions, the Mahomes interceptions, if offensive line play was contributed to those. I don't think so, Sam. I thought he had a clean pocket, and they were quick releases too.
Yeah, especially the one to Bolton. I don't remember the pocket as well on the one to Harris later in the day. But the first 2, no, that wasn't part of the issue.
Okay.
Here's the easiest way to answer that question. They were on 7-on-7 drills, so they didn't have offensive linemen out there.
It's very good. Very good, Herbie. Okay, couple of some news involving a former Chief over the weekend. How about Justin Houston signing with the Baltimore Ravens? I think the Ravens got better for the Justin Houston signing, and he was a player that rumored to be maybe interested in the Chiefs. We saw his Instagram account with him working out in a Chiefs helmet, but does not sign with the Chiefs, but instead signs with one of the handful of teams we think are the Chiefs' biggest competitors, the Ravens, along with Bills, Browns. Maybe that's it. So, Sam, is it a good signing for the Ravens? Bad news for the Chiefs, or will they be okay here?
Yeah, I don't think it's a guy who was a particularly great fit for the Chiefs for the reasons we discussed last week. I just think the locker room culture was shifted when he left, and purposely so. He's shown more in the past couple of years that he still has something to give with the seasons with the Colts. He had a combined like 19, 20 sacks over those 2 years. So, if the Ravens can get 8-9 sacks out of him, of course, that's a great contribution, especially at the price that they got him for.
And how about this piece of news that we heard today from Indy? Speaking of, Houston came from Indy, and how about the Indianapolis Colts? A team that people think on the rise and playoff contender, losing starting quarterback Carson Wentz to a broken bone in his foot. I guess it was detected on Thursday, and today it was determined that he was going to miss 5 to 12 weeks, not 5 to 7, not 10 to 12, but 5 to 12 weeks. And what a big blow for the Indianapolis Colts. You don't wish this on anybody, but it's been kind of a tough go for Carson Wentz, Herbie, hasn't it? Losing his job in Philly and, looking for the fresh start in Indianapolis, and this happens.
Yeah, and then, the Colts, obviously very excited to get him. Frank Reich coached him in Philly. So, the fresh start there, but you're right, it's the durability issues. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And, you get the Colts team, a rising Colts team, and now they're without a starting quarterback again. Time to bring back Phillip Rivers?
Maybe. Andrew asks how Chris Jones has been looking at defensive end. Tough to, I guess we're going to get a better sense of that tomorrow, aren't we, when the pads come on? So, but so far, Sam, what do we think about Chris Jones at defensive end?
Yeah, he's been pretty consistently in the backfield, actually. I still, once I heard that move, I mean, of course, there's some reasons it does make sense, but I thought initially that it might be a little bit of an awkward fit because of his size, prevents him from bending around the edge. And of course, we heard him talk about the fact that he's doing yoga and Pilates to try and increase that flexibility. But I just wondered how many moves could be in his repertoire at that position as opposed to how many are in his repertoire at defensive tackle at the 3 technique. I wonder if he's going to be a little bit less productive out there, but training camp has shown the opposite. Like you mentioned, the pads haven't come on yet, right? So we'll know more once they do. But he's been pretty consistently in the backfield in this first week or so.
And Josh asks, and I think it's a good question, and I did notice him today. What's you guys' assessment of, or Chris asks, how the assessment of Joshua Kando? He's been pretty active, Herbie, hasn't he? And how is he going to get on the field?
Well, he's going to be part of that rotation if the Chiefs defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, decides to put him as part of the rotation. But, I think when you think of that rotation, the guys that pop up first are obviously Alex Okafor, Mike Dana, and even Taco Charlton. So Kando will have the opportunity to be part of it, but, he won't be the primary piece of it.
Okay. Hey, Rob Wheat, good to hear from you. It's been a while. Thanks for checking in. Always good to hear from you, Rob. As we wind this down, there was one more clip I wanted to play today that I think we've all seen by now, but this is from an old friend. His name is Mitch Morse. You guys remember him as the Chiefs starting center from 2015 through 2018, so 4 playoff seasons with the Chiefs. He signs with Buffalo and has 2 more playoff seasons. I don't know who else in football has more consecutive playoff seasons than he does. So I guess Tyreek Hill would, right? A member of the Chiefs, because they've been in the playoffs every year since as well. But anyway, it's been a terrific career for Mitch Morse. And today, during a media opportunity in Buffalo, he took the chance to thank and to salute our former colleague Terez Paylor, not for his coverage of the Chiefs, but actually for something that occurred while Terez was covering Mizzou back in, I think it was the 2012 football season. So I want to run this clip and find out what you guys think about it. So let's hear from Mitch Morse.
I was a sophomore center at University of Missouri, and Terez was a beat writer for Kansas City, but it was also from Mizzou. And I was just having a tough go at center. I couldn't snap the ball. I was sailing snaps in games, and it was costing us big plays. And one media day after a particular bad game, he comes up, or a few guys. I'm not going to say names, but a few media guys go, "Are you as surprised as we are that you're still the starting center?" And as a 19-year-old, it crushed me. I was shaken. I was emotional, and Terez and another guy named Vahe came up to me. Didn't have to do this. This is the first time I ever met him, and he said, "Listen, pal, you're a young kid. You got this. We got your back." let's take it one day at a time. And he didn't owe me anything, and he did that. And then I had him in Kansas City, and he's a great dude. He's a good person. Did it for all the right reasons, and we lost him. And that was I think he's got a scholarship fund at Howard University where he attended. And if you get a chance, we were trying to get the shirt, the Juice shirt. Was it a Juice shirt? Yeah, all Juice team shirt. We couldn't get it here in time. But I just want to start off. He was a good person, and we miss him dearly.
How about that? Pretty cool for Mitch Morris to go there and to salute Terez like that. And I did not know that story about Terez at Mizzou. And again, he only covered the Tigers for one season, and before transitioning into the Chiefs beat writer job. So hats off to Mitch Morris, and thanks for doing that. Thanks for saying that.
One of the cool things, Blair, that's obviously just an incredibly unfortunate thing that we all experienced, learning of that back in February. But in turn, I've learned so much about Terez that I didn't know. And, I considered myself a friend of Terez, of course. And I worked with the guy for so long, but just talking to so many other people about him, we've just heard other stories trickle out about Terez that, I think if I had that sort of impact on a player, I might have mentioned it to somebody. And, it was just another day for Terez. That was the cool part about hearing Mitch Morris say that today.
Look, and Terez probably never knew that, right? Maybe Mitch said something to Terez about it, but who knows? Who knows? But it was great to hear, and I can actually see Terez and that other guy named Vahe, to go into Mitch Morris, sophomore center at Mizzou, having a tough time, saying, just kind of consoling him and telling him to keep his head up, and of course that other person was Vahe Gregorian, who was with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch now, but now with the Star. So.
Well, Blair, I think Vahe would have done the consoling, but I could envision Terez giving like one hell of like an actual pep talk, motivational Al Pacino any given Sunday like speech.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, a couple more questions before we get out of here. Rob asks how the COVID wristband players are handled on the field and transitioning back into the buildings. Sam, how about taking that one?
Well, if you have not had your vaccine, you've got basically the same protocols that were in place last year as far as needing to mask up during meetings. You can't eat with your teammates. You're going to have some restrictions on your travel as far as being able to leave the hotel. If you have been in the testing, of course, you still have to get tested every day. The vaccinated players have new protocols where, even if you come into contact with somebody else who's had COVID, you don't have to do the quarantine period. The NFL basically is doing all that it possibly can to try and get its players vaccinated. It's to incentivize its players to get vaccinated. And, the wristbands is an interesting thing because I had heard that I think we all did, that the NFL was allowing teams to sort of color code its players on wristbands and what color. And so I think it was last Friday that I asked Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because he had a green wristband, what that meant. And he said that he had been vaccinated. Saturday, Daniel Sorensen was wearing a different colored wristband, which was a red one. And so we asked him about it, and he declined to talk about it. But it's become evident to those of us who are out here watching training camp and covering this team that a red wristband means you either have not been vaccinated, or at least it means that you are not fully vaccinated. And we have been told by the Chiefs that they are one of 7 NFL teams in which 95% of their players have at least gotten the first dose of the vaccine. And when you do the math on that, that means at most 4 have not started the process. So it's either 1, 2, 3, or 4 have opted not to get the vaccine yet.
Very good. Okay. Hey, and Herbie, let's maybe wrap it up with this. It's about return reps. It's funny, the Chiefs do the kicking part of practice as we're making our way down to a media tent. We don't get to see a lot of what's going on with the special teams, but I did notice last week that Byron Pringle has been back there. I'm trying to think. McCole Hardman was back. This is kickoff, not punt. I have not seen any punt return drills. Have you noticed anybody else from back in the return positions?
I have not, because when they start going into that portion of practice, we're going out of the tent and heading down the hill into the media area. So I haven't been able to see any of that. But you are right. With the kickoff returns, we are seeing Hardman back there. We're seeing Pringle. Who else was super? Jerick McKinnon is back there a couple of times. Gore, their undrafted free agent. Rashad Fenton's back there returning kickoffs as well. So, they have a lot of bodies to consider there.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on that going forward. So we're about out of time. I just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in. You guys have been great questions and comments, and big thanks to Herbie and Sam for taking a half hour out of their day to answer those questions and respond to those comments. Beth Welsh was she wins the Jacobs blocking trophy today for blocking all the spammers that appeared in the comments section. She did a heck of a job. So for Sam, Herbie, and Beth, and big thanks to the Sheet Metal Workers Local Union at number 2 for their sponsorship. Thank you so much. Hey, listen, programming notes. If you're interested in the Royals, 10 a.m. tomorrow, we'll be doing this with Lynn Worthy and Vahe Gregorian talking Royals baseball, and we'll have some more Chiefs for you later in the week. Thanks a lot, you guys. We'll talk to you soon.